after Donald Trump vows to rescue protesters. Kickstarting the coverage with our top focus on Indore as the water contamination tragedy continues to escalate. Investigations have now revealed a leaking pipeline beneath the public toilet that allowed sewage to seep directly into the drinking water supply. Documents accessed by CNN News 18 have exposed systemic failures. A proposed Narmada pipeline for Bhagirathpura in 2022, which was delayed for years. Tenders were issued only in mid of 2025 and construction began just last month, nearly 3 years late. Worse still, sewer lines were laid above the drinking water pipelines, a blatant violation of safety rules. The impact of the CNN News 18 Indore files has been swift. The Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister has in fact issued show cause notices, removed the additional commissioner and even sacked the superintending engineer in charge of water distribution. Accountability is finally being forced, but at a tragic cost to citizens. And while ministers at government meetings sip bottled water, ordinary citizens pay with their lives. This is the video, as you can see on your screens, from a government official meeting where you can see the bottled water is kept for these ministers. This, on the other hand, as over 150 people are still fighting for their life, with 15 already declared dead.
बालों को दस्त लगे हुए थे, बुखार आ रहा था, उसको डॉक्टर को हमने दिखाया था। चाइल्ड स्पेशलिस्ट डॉक्टर है, उन्होंने मेडिसिन लिख के दे दी थी, हम घर ले आए थे उसको। तो ये 26 तारीख को दिखाया था हमने। 2 दिन ठीक रहा बच्चा, मतलब ठीक है। अब दस्त लगे तो नर्वस तो होता ही है बच्चा थोड़ा, ये सोच के हमने ठीक है मंडे को दिखा देंगे। रात को अचानक एकदम उसको तेज़ बुखार आया, उल्टी हुई उसको और वही घर पे हो गया। नॉर्मली जो बच्चों को दस्त डायरिया होता है, जो भी मतलब लगते हैं, अपन तो यही नॉर्मली सोचते हैं। हॉस्पिटल नहीं, अपना क्लिनिक है यहाँ पर, डॉक्टर सिरोंज करके है, 3 पुलिया पे है, उनको ही दिखाया था हमने। उन्होंने मेडिसिन बच्चे का चेकअप वेकअप करा था और मेडिसिन लिख के दे दी थी।
Three bacteria are there: E. coli, Vinro cholerae and Shingle. So what are the health implications and how dangerous could these bacteria be?
These bacteria are toxigenic to the gastrointestinal tract, जो हमारा खाने का पाचन का तंत्र होता है, मेनली ये हमारे उसको इन्वॉल्व करते हैं। और ये सारे जनरली हमारे जो डाइजेशन में एक्सेस वाटर, एक्सेस फ्लूइड, एक्सेस सॉल्ट्स, ये सब का लॉस करते हैं और ये सब बॉडी में और इन्फेक्शंस भी कर सकते हैं, लेकिन प्रीडोमिनेंटली डायरिया, जिसमें कि कभी कभी खून भी हो सकता है स्टूल्स के साथ, वो होता है। और मेन डेंजर होता है कि आदमी में डिहाइड्रेशन होने का रिस्क बहुत ज़्यादा होता है। तो इस
So how easily is it for one to get exposed to these bacteria?
See, it is actually not nowadays with the practices that we have to be totally avoid any kind of contamination with sewage. It's basically a totally preventable thing. We have to ensure the availability of potable drinking water. If the drinking water is clean, these things will not happen. These things happen because of the mixing of the sewage with the water. So basically it's an avoidance thing. If we can avoid it, nothing's better than that.
All right, so CNN News 18 takes you through the Indore files, which exposed the systemic failures that led to the death of 15 people. The big question being, could this tragedy have been averted? Remember, the pipeline project remained on papers for 3 years because the proposal was initially introduced in the year 2022. The tender, to be precise, had been issued in July of 2025 and work on the new pipeline began only in December of 2025. Sewer lines were laid above drinking water lines. That's a blunder because remember, it's also in violation of the existing rules. The municipal department ignored over 20 complaints. This, as in fact residents kept complaining about the foul smell, the color, all of these, in fact, complaints were left to deaf ears. Repeated complaints were, in fact, raised by Bhagirathapura residents. Why there was no action taken is the big question, even though the Chief Minister has now removed officials. But is that going to suffice? Will that bring back the 15 lives, including an infant, that have been lost today? Let's quickly go across to Manoj Sharma, who's joining me on the phone line with more details. So Manoj, as we take our viewers through all of these systemic failures, take us through what in fact has been the cause for this delay. Any word coming in from the Chief Minister's office or the authorities in terms of what can explain the delay, especially when the proposal was initially introduced in 2022?
But as far as the action of state government is concerned, because Rohit Sisodia, who was, before this order, Rohit Sisodia, 2017 batch IAS officer, he has been shifted from as the additional commissioner of Indore Municipal Corporation, and now he's now shifted to to Bhopal as the deputy secretary in State Agriculture Department. So if you want to fix the responsibility, so he was responsible because he was additional commissioner in Indore Municipal Corporation, and in fact looking after all these affairs as far as drinking water is concerned. He was monitoring these things. He was monitoring Amrit 2 implementation of Amrit 2 in Indore. So he is now being shifted by the state government, and show cause notices have also been issued to Rohit Sisodia along with the Indore Municipal Commissioner. So obviously we are waiting for more action from the state government, but because there are blame games on the part of Indore Mayor.
Now, also take us through the blatant violations that have taken place. First of all, there was a failure to implement the Narmada pipeline on time. More importantly, why was the sewage pipeline and the drinking water pipeline placed next to each other? That in itself is a violation of rules.
Obviously, because in November 2024. There was planning for laying the new Narmada pipeline in Indore, and after that decision in July 2025, it was decided to issue work order. Tenders were finalized. So even after finalization of the tender in July 2025, why it has not been implemented even after 5-6 months? And only of late, on 30th of January, further action was taken. There were complaints on CM helpline. There were complaints according to BJP corporator there in Bhagirathapura. There were complaints from local residents that there is contamination of water. People are getting ill. Even then, no action was taken. So obviously, you can see how whatever has to be done by Indore municipal authorities, they could not do, which finally led to their approach for this contaminated water. Finally led to this disaster.
All right. Many thanks to you, Manoj Sharma, for bringing us all those latest inputs. Manoj continues to report on that story, as does Mithilesh. We'll quickly go across to Mithilesh also. But first, let's take you through the key findings of the lab report, remember, which has already confirmed contamination. There was a diarrhea outbreak, which, remember, has been caused by water contamination. Why so? Because you clearly have disease-causing bacteria found in the drinking water sample. Which bacteria are you looking at? The Vibrio cholerae, the Shigella E. coli bacteria, all three types of bacteria have in fact been found in this drinking water sample that was tested. The samples, remember, were taken from the drinking water that was being supplied to the homes of all of those residents who are currently battling for life. 15 of them, remember, have already lost their life. A report prepared by Indore's MGM Medical College as well. On that note, let me quickly go across to Mithilesh Gupta, who's joining me live on the broadcast. Mithilesh, 2 रिमूवल्स हुए हैं अधिकारियों के, एक म्यूनिसिपल एडिशनल कमिश्नर का भी रिमूवल हुआ है, पर जो हमारे फाइल्स हैं, जितना आप लोग जो इन्फॉर्मेशन ला रहे हैं, उसके हिसाब से पता चल रहा है कि बहुत सारे डिपार्टमेंट्स इन्वॉल्व हैं, बहुत ही सारे ऑफिशियल्स, मिनिस्टर्स तक का इन्वॉल्वमेंट है. तो किस को हम रिस्पॉन्सिबल ठहराएंगे?
बिल्कुल सही कहा आपने कि किस किस को जिम्मेदार ठहराएंगे। और देखिए, सबसे पहले जो कार्रवाई हुई रोहित सिसोदिया पर, रोहित सिसोदिया यहाँ के एडिशनल नगर निगम के कमिश्नर हैं, एडिशनल कमिश्नर हैं यहाँ के। और उसके बाद में 3 जो नए अधिकारी यहाँ पर आएंगे, आकाश सिंह, प्रखर सिंह और आशीष कुमार पाठक। अब ये 3 नए अपर आयुक्त हैं, एडिशनल कमिश्नर होंगे नगर निगम के। लेकिन पहली बड़ी कार्रवाई तो ही है, ये माना जा सकता है कि बिल्कुल कि रोहित सिसोदिया पर जो कार्रवाई हुई है बड़ी कार्रवाई हुई है। और सबसे बड़े जिम्मेदार रोहित सिसोदिया भी थे, क्योंकि रोहित सिसोदिया के पास ही वो फाइल थी जो नर्मदा पाइपलाइन के जो टेंडर करने थे, ये सारे टेंडर की प्रक्रिया इन्हीं का अधीनस्थ थी, उसके जिम्मेदार अधिकारी यही थे। देखिए, अब लेकिन जिम्मेदारी बनती शुरुआत अगर की जाए तो मंत्री कैलाश विजयवर्गीय से ही ये जिम्मेदारी शुरू हो जाती है, क्योंकि नगरीय प्रशासन मंत्री जो है वो मंत्री कैलाश विजयवर्गीय है। उसके बाद यहाँ के महापौर जो है पुष्यमित्र भार्गव है, उसके बाद जल कार्य समिति के जो MIC है बबलू शर्मा है, फिर उसके बाद में जो जल कार्य विभाग के जो अधिकारी इंजीनियर हैं संजीव श्रीवास्तव, जिन्हें भी हटाया गया है, जिन पर कार्रवाई हुई है। ऐसे कई सारे नाम, वहाँ के स्थानीय पार्षद जो है कमल वाघेला, ऐसे बहुत लोग हैं कि जिनकी जिम्मेदारी बनती है। हालांकि कार्रवाई शुरू हुई है, लगातार और भी लोगों पे कार्रवाई होना चाहिए। और खुद ये जो मंत्री हैं चाहे महापौर हैं, इन्हें भी अपनी जिम्मेदारी लेते हुए खुद भी इन्हें एक बड़ा फैसला लेना होगा कि आखिर इनकी जो जिम्मेदारी बनती है तो उसमें चूक हुई है तो फिर क्या कुछ इन्हें भी सज़ा मिलना चाहिए, क्योंकि पूरा मामला 15 बेगुनाह लोगों की मौत से जुड़ा हुआ है। 15 बेगुनाह लोगों की जान गई है, 200 से ज़्यादा लोग अस्पताल में भर्ती हैं, कई लोग ICU में भर्ती हैं जिनका इस वक्त इलाज चल रहा है। 6 महीने के मासूम बच्चे की भी मौत हुई है उल्टी दस्त की वजह से, 10 साल बाद बच्चे का जन्म हुआ था। तो देखिए, मौतों का आंकड़ा सामने आ चुका है। और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि अभी तक प्रशासनिक जो अधिकारी है उनकी रिपोर्ट के मुताबिक 4 लोगों की मौत हुई है। लेकिन यहाँ के स्थानीय पार्षद की बात की जाए तो स्थानीय पार्षद ने इस बात को मान लिया है कि 15 लोगों की जान गई है, यानी 15 लोगों की मौत हुई है, इस बात को अब स्वीकार लिया है। यहाँ के जो स्थानीय पार्षद हैं जो कुछ दिन पहले झूला झूलते हुए नजर आ रहे थे, अब उन्होंने मान लिया। लेकिन सबसे बड़ी बात है, इतने दिनों में ये तय नहीं कर पा रहे हैं कि संक्रमण का पानी पहुंचा कहां से, क्योंकि जिस लीकेज को पहले बताया जा रहा था कि इस लीकेज से पानी पहुंचा था, अब उस लीकेज को लेकर सवाल खड़े हो गए कि इतने छोटे लीकेज से पानी नहीं पहुंच सकता, लीकेज कहीं और होगा। तो आनंद फानन में जिसे लीकेज बताया था उसे वापिस से मिट्टी डालकर ढक दिया है। हकीकत यही है। अब लगातार मौत हो रही है, मौतों का आंकड़ा बढ़ता जा रहा है, मरीज सामने आ रहे हैं और ये जितने भी लोग हैं मौतों की जो आंकड़े उसे छुपाने में लगे हुए हैं। और सबसे हैरान कर देने वाली बात है कि आज सुबह से महापौर और मंत्री कैलाश विजयवर्गीय कहाँ हैं। अगर मेयर की कोई नहीं सुनता है तो फिर वो मेयर क्यों थे, इस्तीफा दे देते। अगर आज वाकई वो कह रहे हैं कि अधिकारी नहीं सुनते तो पहले इस्तीफा दे देना चाहिए था। तो देखिए, मौत हुई है, जान गई है, जवाब तो देना होगा।
और जवाब ये भी देना होगा कि जब इंदौर को रैंक किया जाता है एज द कंट्रीज क्लीनेस्ट सिटी, तो ये हाल, मतलब वहाँ ड्रिंकिंग वाटर का, वहाँ की सप्लाई का है। सबसे बड़ी बात कि इस प्रॉब्लम को भी रोका जा सकता था। पर ये बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट के लिए कितनी शर्मिंदगी की बात हो रही है कि आज उमा भारती तक का स्टेटमेंट आया है ये कहते हुए कि मोहन यादव का ये सबसे बड़ा टेस्ट है और वो अभी बहुत प्रेशर में है। तो उनके ऊपर किस तरह का प्रेशर और दबाव डाला जा रहा है, हमें थोड़ी और जानकारी दे सकते?
देखिए, अगर ग्राउंड जीरो की बात करें तो सबसे बड़ी बात है कि देखिए, पूर्व मुख्यमंत्री रही उमा भारती, उन्होंने बिल्कुल सही लाइन लिखी है कि जो भी इन बेगुनाह मौतों के जिम्मेदार हैं उनसे ये महापाप हुआ है। सिर्फ महापौर की नहीं, पूरे शासन प्रशासन की गलती। बेशक बिल्कुल सही कहा आपने, सबकी गलती है, एक एक आदमी जिससे जुड़ा हुआ सबकी गलती है, क्योंकि 300 शिकायतें हुई हैं, 300 से ज़्यादा वहाँ के लोगों ने शिकायत की है। और इंदौर के जो महापौर हैं, क्या उन्हें नहीं पता था कि वहाँ पे नर्मदा पाइपलाइन डालना है? टेंडर प्रक्रिया में धीरे वो लीपापोती हो रही है, कमीशन खोरी का खेल चल रहा है। कमीशन खोरी का खेल चल रहा है तभी तो किसी एजेंसी को काम नहीं दिया गया। टेंडर ओपन किए जाते हैं, टेंडर में नाम भी सामने आ जाते हैं, टेंडर फाइनल भी हो जाता है, उसके बाद भी क्यों काम नहीं दिया जाता है, क्यों काम करने से रोक दिया जाता है, क्यों एजेंसी फाइनल नहीं होती है? क्योंकि कमीशन खोरी का खेल है, सबको बड़े कमीशन चाहिए, बड़ा कमीशन का खेल चल रहा है। बाद में जब सवाल उठता है तो सीधा सीधा कह दिया कि इसके लिए जिम्मेदार अधिकारी हैं। जिम्मेदारी तो आपकी भी थी, जिम्मेदारी तो मंत्री कैलाश विजयवर्गीय की भी है। आप उसी क्षेत्र से विधायक हैं, उसी क्षेत्र से आप मंत्री हैं, जब आप उसके बाद 8-8, 9-9 घंटे पब्लिक के बीच आके बैठते हैं। आप इसलिए बैठते हैं क्योंकि मौतें होने लग गई, सवाल उठने लगा, आपका विरोध होने लगा, लोग आपके खिलाफ खड़े हो गए, लोगों का आक्रोश फूटने लगा, गुस्सा फूटने लगा, इसलिए उनके बीच जाकर बैठ गए। अगर उनके बीच 9 घंटे पहले बैठे होते शायद उनकी जान बच जाती, उनकी मौत नहीं होती। अगर आप पहले चले गए होते तो मौतों के बाद आप जागे हैं और जागे हैं तो सब पे कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। आप बार बार कह रहे हैं कि मंत्रियों पे वो माफ कीजिएगा, आप बार बार कह रहे हैं अधिकारियों पे कार्रवाई होना चाहिए, तो आप पे भी कार्रवाई होना चाहिए, महापौर पे भी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए।
आपने
आप
बहुत
सब
ही जायज सवाल उठाए हैं और ये सारी हमें जानकारी देने के लिए मिथिलेश बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। एंड एज मिथिलेश हैज बीन रेजिंग द की क्वेश्चन व्हिच ऑल इंडिकेट could this health emergency have been averted had the authorities, had the officials, including the ministers, acted on time. On that note, let's bring you some more ground reports brought to us by Mithilesh and some political reactions as well.
चूक तो हुई है, आपने कई बार माना और आपने कहा है छोड़ा किसी को नहीं जाएगा, जांच चल रही है।
चूक तो हुई, मैं पहले दिन से कह रहा हूँ, और चूँकि हम सरकार में तो जिम्मेदारी भी हमारी है, पर इसमें जो व्यक्ति दोषी है उसके खिलाफ कार्रवाई करेंगे और भविष्य में इसकी पुनरावृत्ति नहीं हो इसकी चिंता की। देखिए वहाँ पर एक बड़ा जो मिक्सिंग का था ड्रेनेज का वो पॉइंट तो मिल गया है, पर अभी हो सकता है संभावना है कि छोटे और हो, तो अभी हमने पीने के लिए मना किया है पानी। हमने नर्मदा का पानी बंद कर दिया था, आज से हम चालू कर रहे हैं और फिर हमने अनाउंसमेंट कर दिया ये सिर्फ सैंपल टेस्टिंग के लिए हम कर रहे हैं, आप इस पानी का उपयोग नहीं करें। पानी पीने के लिए टैंकर से आप पानी लें और वहाँ हमने 50 टैंकर खड़े कर दिए, लोग उसका ही पानी पी रहे हैं। अब ये जो पानी बहेगा पाइपलाइन में से वहाँ हम रैंडम जगह जगह चेकिंग करेंगे पानी की।
एक आखिरी सवाल, कितने लोग अस्पताल में भर्ती हैं, कितने लोग संक्रमित हुए और मौत का कितना अभी तक संख्या, मौतों की संख्या कितनी हुई?
ये 1400-1500 लोग करीब आंकड़ा है जो इससे प्रभावित हुए थे, उसमें से 200 लोग हॉस्पिटलाइज हुए थे, जिसमें 60-70 लोग डिस्चार्ज हो गए। मुझे लगता है कि 150 संख्या होगी जो हॉस्पिटल में है
जी, और
वो हमारे लोग, हमने हर हॉस्पिटल के अंदर एक प्रशासनिक अधिकारी और एक हेल्थ विभाग का अधिकारी को वहाँ बैठा दिया जो प्राइवेट नर्सिंग होम के अंदर है।
जी।
आईसीयू में मेरा ख्याल 13-14 लोग हैं, पर सब आउट ऑफ डेंजर है।
कांग्रेस पार्टी, क्या आपने खुद भी एक इसके लिए जांच दल बनाया है?
नहीं, जांच दल तो 5 तारीख को अपनी रिपोर्ट देगा। 2 नगरीय प्रशासन मंत्री उसमें डाले गए हैं। अभी कुछ नहीं दिखता, एक बात दिखती है कि 13 लोगों की मौत हुई और जहरीले पानी से हुई है, और उसके लिए अगर कोई दोषी है तो नगर निगम महापौर और वो कर्मचारी अमला है, उसको इसी वक्त एफआईआर होनी चाहिए उस पर। ये मोहन यादव नहीं करेंगे, बीजेपी नहीं करेगी। अमृत योजना में या अलग अलग देश की योजनाओं के अंतर्गत साल के 1000 करोड़ रुपए पानी की व्यवस्था को लेके आते हैं, फिर भी करप्शन हो जाता है। कि जो मंत्री है नगरीय प्रशासन, उनकी विधानसभा का यह हाल है तो पूरे मध्य प्रदेश का क्या होगा?
एक तरफ आप कहते हैं हमें पुरस्कार मिला है, सालों भर 3-4-5 साल लगातार सबसे स्वच्छ शहर इंदौर अपने आप को बताते हैं, सरकार बताती है, मोदी सरकार बताती है, राज्य सरकार बताते हैं। और दूसरी ओर ये देखिए जो हुआ है पिछले कुछ दिनों में, अब और मंत्री स्वीकारने को तैयार नहीं है, वो पत्रकारों पर कूद पड़ते हैं, बिल्कुल जो शब्दों का इस्तेमाल वो करते हैं, हम हर कभी उसको स्वीकार नहीं कर सकते, कोई भी स्वीकार नहीं कर सकता। आप मंत्री हैं, दायित्व आपका है, जिम्मेदारी आपकी होती है।
All right, now shifting focus over to the AQI in the national capital. Breaking inputs coming in where we are learning is that GRAP 3 has been lifted from Delhi. The AQI of Delhi, which was recorded at 380 yesterday, has significantly improved and recorded 236 today at 4 p.m. This, of course, has exhibited now a declining trend, which has now, in fact, also encouraged the government to remove GRAP 3. Let's quickly take this forward with Simran, who brings us those breaking inputs. Simran, the biggest and the most immediate question that comes to mind, is it a tad bit too early to lift GRAP 3 at the moment?
Well, that's a valid question indeed at this point of time, given the kind of situation that's been unfolding in context of the increasing AQI in the national capital, given how the AQI has also been soaring for the past few days after the stage 4 of the graded response action plan was revoked. But now here's the thing, that after the stage 3 of the GRAP 4 has been revoked, the ban on the construction and demolition activities which were non-essential, that has also been lifted. Along with that, there is the entry of the BS3 petrol and the BS4 diesel vehicles that will also be allowed in the national capital, with all of these restrictions now being uplifted and also allowed as well at this point of time, the bigger question is that what are the measures that have been providing a relief in keeping the AQI at par or not in the severe category? Well, that's a question that is completely not answered in any context, as right now the AQI is around 200 or 300 inching towards that, and as we progress towards the closing time of the office hours, the AQI is likely to increase during that time before the night comes. While the AQI in the morning itself is also going to give us a testimony of how exactly the air quality after the stage 3 is being revoked and after these restrictions are being uplifted is going to be in the national capital. There has been a history, Akansha, in the past few days as well, where within a few days the revocation has been again in fact reversed, and then the stage 3 or stage 4 are then implemented. But right now the larger question is, was there an essential need for doing so, or this is done to also expect that there could be a better relief in the coming days? Well, that's for the CAQM or the Delhi Environment Department to answer, and only in the days to come we are going to get some clarity on how exactly this kind of move has been for the people of Delhiites who continue to breathe this toxic air. Back to you.
Many thanks to you, Simran, for bringing us all those inputs. We will have to see if this declining trend that has emerged today continues or not. And with that, quickly shifting focus over to some more breaking inputs coming in. This is with regards to the NIA raid, which is currently underway in Kashmir's Shopian. A 9th accused in the Delhi blast case, remember, has been taken to a forested area in Shopian as a massive search operation has been launched by the NIA. It is in fact currently underway as we are being told. Remember, ever since the November Delhi blast case, the NIA has in fact stepped in and they have been conducting timely raids, not just in Shopian, even Pulwama as well. Let's quickly bring you a report.
दिल्ली में बम ब्लास्ट के बाद लगातार जो है एनआईए की कार्रवाई जारी है और आज शोपियान के पांदश का रहने वाला जो यासिर है, सूत्रों के मुताबिक उसको यहाँ पे लाया गया है, क्योंकि ये बताया जा रहा है इरफान मौलवी और यासिर के कुछ पिक्चर जो है इसी जंगल में उन्होंने उठाए थे और कई घंटों तक उन्होंने यहाँ पे कुछ साथियों के साथ पिकनिक किया था, तो यहाँ पे आज उसको लाया गया है। उन्होंने इस जंगल में कुछ बताया होगा, फिलहाल ये कहना कबल वक्त है, लेकिन यासिर एनआईए टीम के साथ है, जैसे कि हमने आपको दिखाया कि किस तरह उसको यहाँ पे लिया गया है और उसके साथ साथ यही वो जगह है, बताया जा रहा है कि यहीं पे यासिर जो है और इरफान मौलवी की मीटिंग हुई थी या कुछ अन्य लोगों से वो यहाँ पे मिले थे। आज इसका खुलासा हुआ। लगातार जो है एनआईए इसकी तफ्तीश कर रही है, क्योंकि दिल्ली में बम ब्लास्ट के बाद इस तरह मुतहरिक हुई थी तमाम एजेंसी, सीआरपीएफ, जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस और एनआईए की टीम अभी यहाँ से निकल चुकी है और ये बताया जा रहा है अब और कई जगहों पे भी छापे डाले जाएंगे, क्योंकि यासिर अभी एनआईए के हिरासत में है, तो क्या वहाँ से कुछ निकल कर सामने आता है फिलहाल बताना मुश्किल है। और बाज़ाब्ता तौर पे अब इसके बाद एक प्रेस नोट एनआईए की तरफ से जारी किया जाएगा और इसका इंतज़ार रहेगा।
All right, we await that press statement coming in from the NIA to bring you more details on that news story. With that, we're slipping into a quick break here on Nation at 5. Stay tuned as we return with the latest news and updates.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, while speaking at an event in IIT Madras, spoke about his recent visit to Bangladesh and India's approach to regional relations. He was speaking about both our fronts, both Eastern and Western. He said, I was in Bangladesh just a few days ago to represent India for the funeral of former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia. On India's relations with its neighbours, Jaishankar added that our approach is guided by common sense. With good neighbours, India invests, helps and shares. He shared and highlighted the ties that we have with countries like Sri Lanka. But addressing the issue of terrorism, he said when it comes to bad neighbours who persist with terror, India has every right to defend itself for whatever is necessary. He also went on to defend putting the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance, going on to say that a country cannot request us to share our waters while they continue to spread terror in our country.
But you can also have bad neighbours. Unfortunately, we do. Now, when you have bad neighbours, and if you look to the one to the west. If a country decides that they will deliberately, persistently, unrepentantly continue with terrorism, we have a right to defend our people against terrorism. We will exercise that right. You know, many years ago, we agreed to a water arrangement, water sharing arrangement, because the belief, the underpinning of that was, it was a gesture of goodwill, because for good neighborliness we were doing it. But if you had decades of terrorism, there is no good neighborliness. If there is no good neighborliness, you don't get the benefits of that good neighborliness. You can't say, I will, please share water with me, but I will continue terrorism with you.
Siddhant, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more perspective on this. Siddhant, the External Affairs Minister there outlining what India's strategy has been. If our neighbours are good to us, then we invest in them like we have done with Sri Lanka. And if it is a country like Pakistan that ensures of pushing terrorism into our country every now and then decisions like putting the IWT in abeyance will continue.
Well, that's right, Poonam. In fact, EMS Jaishankar was speaking at IIT Madras, and this question was asked to him about India's neighbourhood first policy. Now, Poonam, this was the first policy which was introduced after Prime Minister Modi coming to power in 2014, that India's special focus under Prime Minister Modi would be on strengthening ties with the neighbouring countries. And that has been the policy of India from last 1 decade. But now, this is also not for the first time, but this is for the first time that EMS Jaishankar has spoken at a length explaining about India's.
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5. I'm Akanksha Swaroop. Now, vote chori claims by the leader of opposition of the Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, have finally flopped. Why so? Because an end-line survey commissioned by Karnataka's Chief Electoral Officer and published by the state government itself has found that voters have high confidence in the electoral process. The report released by the Karnataka Monitoring and Evaluation Authority surveyed 5,100 respondents across the state and found that about 84.55% believe elections in India are conducted freely and fairly. Trust in electronic voting machines has also risen, increasing from 77.9% back in 2023 to 83.61% after the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. Now, Congress has defended the government, saying that the survey was commissioned by Election Commission through State Chief Electoral Officer, but the BJP is falsely peddling the survey as state government survey. Congress has also said that the survey is statistically weak, prone to wide sampling error and not suitable for drawing conclusions. But the Bharatiya Janata Party has countered this argument, saying facts in the survey deliver a serious blow to Congress party and its narrative, as citizens are expressing rising confidence in electoral process and the EVMs. Listen in to the reactions.
Rahul Gandhi never said lie. Rahul Gandhi never said lie. See, he conducted inquiry thoroughly and only will address the press people.
Rahul Gandhi's vote chori lie, election commission lie has been fact-checked by his own government in Karnataka. His atom bomb, hydrogen bomb has been diffused by his own government. Today, we are seeing that a survey conducted by the Karnataka state government of Congress party shows that a maximum number of people, majority of the people, over 84%, believe that elections and election commission is free and fair. And they believe that EVMs are working perfectly. This is a life-size reality check. I think Karnataka government of Siddaramaiah ji and Shivakumar ji have done it deliberately, because they are also tired and fed up of the lies Rahul Gandhi says. Rahul Gandhi is LOP, leader of propaganda. He's the modern day Pinocchio who keeps lying.
We have only reflected whatever people said, and of course, the Election Commission is a constitutional body. I can be very clear that neither they have instructed anything, nor we would listen to any such instructions which is not reflecting the respondent's voice.
What they're saying is a Gram survey appears to be pleasing and supporting the Election Commission of India, and questions the intent because it is also the time when the Congress has been raising the vote chori campaign, and which started in Anand in Karnataka itself.
Okay. As you might be knowing, this is the knowledge attitude practice survey. This is not anything specific to this particular year, this particular timing. This is a regular process.
The question they're also raising is there's no serious probe that has been done on EVM malfunctions, VVPAT mismatch concerns, none of that. And the questions also were posed to the people in such a way to make it look like EVMs were favorable.
I don't think so, because as I said, as the survey name itself says, it's a knowledge attitude practice study. So wherein we go and reach out to people with the standard set of questions, ask their opinion, as their experience about all the processes and practices of the elections.
To stick to your data, that most of the people, more than 83% people, say that they trust the EVMs more than ballot papers.
Yep, their confidence about EVM is expressed in that particular question.
Let's quickly go across to Rohini Swami, who will put that into perspective for us. Rohini, the Congress defense coming in is that, do not forget, this survey has been conducted by a Modi man who's part of the PMO. But at the same time, is that countering BJP's own allegations that they cannot deny the facts that have emerged out of this survey?
Well, the survey which has been conducted is purely on a research study that was set up by the Karnataka Planning and Statistics Department, and it is specifically to do with the 2024 elections, because that was where Karnataka has seen the largest turnout. And they said that they wanted to understand why it happened and what was the reason for the turnout to be better than the other years. Now, the data and statistics that they have collected from this particular special survey, clearly the grant, which has the NGO that has been asked to do this, clearly say that their questions were not just about EVMs, but all about VVPAT, but also about the trends and how people are voting. But clearly what answers have come out is people do trust the EVMs more. This also comes in a larger perspective. Actually, the fact remains that Karnataka was moving to say that they don't trust EVMs, they want ballot paper voting. And that is also one of the part of the campaigns that we have saw. The fact that the vote chori campaign started in Anand in Karnataka, then we saw Mahadevpura in Bengaluru and other places of India where Rahul Gandhi took the entire campaign, and it started here. The department itself here now shows that there are various data and statistics questioning as to how people are and the trend in which they are voting and what they think about voting as well. But there's another important point: the money and muscle power that has influenced elections. That also has been highlighted in this specific survey as well. And it is interesting to understand that that has been much higher than the support that people are talking about EVMs. So that also needs to be understood. In the background of the BJP very clearly saying that the vote chori campaign now has been blunted by this particular move itself, because it's the Congress government, it's the Congress government's department that has issued this particular survey and published it. Clearly now we have to understand and see how it works out finally on the ground, because we're going to be seeing local body elections in Bengaluru and other parts as well.
All right, many thanks to you, Rohini, for bringing us all those insights on that news story. On that note, let's also listen into reactions that are coming in from both ends of the political spectrum. Of course, Congress continues to defend its stance, but listen in.
ಈ ಮತದಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಮತ ಹಾಕಿ ನನಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದವನ್ನ ಅರಿಸಿ ಕಳಿಸೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಸಂಶಯ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಭಾವನೆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತ ಆದಾಗ ನಾವು ಜನರಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ಈ ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವ ಉಳಿವಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಗಟ್ಟಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಸಂಶಯ ಬಂದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಕಿತ್ತಾಕಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮತಪೆಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಮತದಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆಟ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಮತದಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಮಾಡ್ಸೋಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಯಾವುದೇ ಪಕ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಮಾತು. ತಾವೇ ಒಂದು ಯಾವುದೋ ಏಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಕಳಿಸಿ ತಮ್ಮದೇ ಒಂದು ರಿಪೋರ್ಟು ತಾವೇ ಹೇಳಿಸೋದು, ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವಕ್ಕೆ ಭಾಳ ಧಕ್ಕೆ ಇದೆ. ಇವ್ರನ್ನ ಯಾರನ್ನೋ ಜನರನ್ನ ನಂಬಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಜನರ ಭಾವನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ತಿರುಗಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವೊಂದು ತನಿಖಾ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ಆ ತನಿಖಾ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಇವ್ರದ್ದೇ.
People of this country have utmost faith on the EVMs. I think in the world there are many countries, and India is in one of those few countries that elections are held in a large scale on EVMs. And even the Honorable Supreme Court has said that there is nothing technically or any scientifically wrong with the EVMs. It can't be tampered. Have faith in EVMs. Congress has no issues with them. So therefore they take up the issue of EVMs, and also because they want to cover their failures with the EVM.
Shifting focus over to Himachal Pradesh, a 19-year-old student of Government Degree College in Dharamshala has died following alleged ragging, harassment and assault. An FIR has been registered against the college professor Ashok Kumar and 3 female students under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita and Himachal Pradesh's anti-ragging laws. The victim's father, in fact, told the police that on 18th of September last year, his daughter was physically assaulted, even intimidated by the 3 students, while the Professor Ashok Kumar allegedly subjected her to obscene acts. Expressing grief over Pallavi's death, the leader of opposition, Jairam Thakur, has said that a high-level and impartial investigation should be conducted so that justice can be served.
किससे मारा? बोतल से मारा, डंडे से मारा?
बोतल से मारा था
एक दीदी ने
कॉलेज में ना,
सिर में,
है ना? और उसके साथ में कौन था?
और जो कमोलिका थी वो भी साथ में थी।
कमोलिका, हाँ,
वो भी मिली थी उनके साथ।
हाँ, मेरे को पढ़ने नहीं देती थी।
अच्छा।
मेरे को पढ़ाने में भी दिक्कत करती थी।
क्या बोलती? फेल हो गई है तू? तो फेल तो बोलना सारे होते हैं। तुम लोगों ने ऐसे किया मेरे साथ, तो तुम लोग कौन से आगे बढ़ जाओगे?
ये सभी बचने की कोशिश करिए, ये कॉलेज वाले इतना गलत करके।
हम साथ में आप।
ये मेरे बच्चे का कंगन है, इसको गिफ्ट किया था हॉस्पिटल में। मेरा बच्चा सर बहुत दर्द में मरा सर, मेरे को इंसाफ मिलना चाहिए, बस मेरे को इंसाफ मिलना चाहिए। मैं नहीं चाहता किसी और बच्चे, मेरा बच्चा तो चलिए किसी और का बच्चा हो, किसी और का बच्चा भी नहीं आना चाहिए। गलत नहीं होना चाहिए बस किसी के साथ। जो छोटे छोटे बच्चे आते हैं कॉलेज में पढ़ने आते हैं, वो तो अपना भविष्य बनाने आते हैं, और ऐसे जानवर बैठे हैं कॉलेजों में, ये ऐसा काम करते हैं। वो भी सर प्रोफेसर जो बच्चों को शिक्षा देते हैं।
जो धाराएं लगी हैं वो 115, 3, 75 और सेक्शन BNS का और रैगिंग एक्ट के तहत भी मामला दर्ज हुआ है। इसमें जो वेरिफिकेशन हुई है, इसमें जो डिसीज्ड हैं वो धर्मशाला से बिलोंग करते हैं, सिद्धबाड़ी के एरिया से बिलोंग करते हैं, और जो अभी तक इन्वेस्टिगेशन, क्योंकि बहुत ही प्रिलिमिनरी स्टेज पर भी इन्वेस्टिगेशन है, तो जो भी फैक्ट्स इसमें निकल के आए थे, जो सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट अगेंस्ट दी एक फैकल्टी मेंबर है वो, और जो कलीग्स जिनके अगेंस्ट में रैगिंग का जो मैटर आया है, वो अंडर एक्टिव कंसिडरेशन है। इस समय वेरिफिकेशन उसकी चल रही है। इस इन्वेस्टिगेशन को एकदम सुचारू रूप से डे टू डे बेसिस पे इसको एग्जीक्यूट करा जाएगा।
All right, let's quickly go across to Bichitra Sharma, our correspondent who's joining us live on the broadcast from Dharamshala. Bichitra जी, सबसे बड़ी बात तो ये है कि छात्रा की मृत्यु दिसंबर में हुई है, सितंबर में उसके साथ हैरेसमेंट हुआ था, जो उसके एलिगेशंस हैं, पर अभी भी अशोक रतन जो आपके कांगड़ा के एसपी हैं, उनका ये कहना है कि ये केस अभी भी प्रिलिमिनरी स्टेजेस में है। ऐसा क्यों?
ऐसा इसलिए क्योंकि एफआईआर जो दर्ज हुई है वो एक दिन पहले ही हुई है धर्मशाला पुलिस स्टेशन में। हालांकि इससे पहले जो है ये योल जो पुलिस चौकी है, जो कि धर्मशाला में ही पड़ती है और जो कि सिद्धबाड़ी के बिल्कुल एडजॉइनिंग है, तो वहाँ ये मामला आया था सामने, क्योंकि इनकी ओर से 18 दिसंबर को ही, मतलब जो बीता साल है उसके 18 दिसंबर को ही जो है इसकी सीएम हेल्पलाइन में शिकायत की गई थी इस पूरे मामले की। और उसके बाद जो है जब इनकी ओर से, यानी कि जब ये स्थानीय पुलिस स्टेशन में ये मामला सीएम हेल्पलाइन की ओर से जो वो ट्रांसफर किया गया, तो उसके बाद इनका कहना यह है, क्योंकि पुलिस का ये तर्क है कि उसके बाद इन्होंने जब जांच पड़ताल शुरू की तो पता चला कि ये जो परिजन है वो अपनी बेटी को लेकर, अभिभावक जो अपनी बेटी को लेकर एनडीसी थाना गए हुए हैं, इसलिए उन्होंने जो है उनसे कहा था कि जैसे वो वापस आएंगे तो वो ये जांच पड़ताल जो है वो ज्वाइन करेंगे, उनसे पूछताछ होगी इस पूरे मामले में, और उसके बाद इस मामले को जो है आगे बढ़ाया जाएगा। लेकिन इन जो है बेटी की जो है वो मौत हो जाती है, उनका आकस्मिक निधन हो जाता है, और उसके बाद चूंकि ये मामला तूल पकड़ लेता है, और वैसे भी उनके जो पिता है पीड़ित विक्रम है, और उनका ये कहना है कि उस बेटी की पिता है, उनका ये कहना है कि क्योंकि जब उनकी बेटी की मौत हुई उसके बाद जो फिर थोड़ा सा हौसला जुटाकर जो फिर उसके बाद पुलिस स्टेशन में पहुंचे, क्योंकि इससे पहले भी वो लगातार पुलिस स्टेशन में जाते रहे या फिर उन्होंने जो वो शिकायत फिर उनको सीएम हेल्पलाइन में करनी पड़ी, जो कि टोल फ्री नंबर होता है, तो उनको इस प्रोसेस से गुजरना पड़ा है। तो फिर इस घटना के बाद भी जो है वो उन्होंने हौसला जुटाया और उसके बाद वो पुलिस स्टेशन में पहुंचे, फिर जाकर जो है ये मामला दर्ज हुआ और फिर उसके बाद इसलिए ही जो एसपी कांगड़ा है सुब्रती वो कह रहे हैं कि ये प्रीलिमिनरी है और जो भी प्राइमा फेसी उनको जो भी मामले जो भी इसमें जिन पर एलिगेशन लगे हैं उनसे जो पूछताछ होगी डे टू डे हियरिंग के बाद ही पता चलेगा कि इसमें एक्चुअल में बात क्या है, एक्चुअल में किसका है, गलती किसकी और कई इसमें एस्पेक्ट हैं आकांक्षा जिसको कि अभी सॉर्ट आउट करना बाकी है। देखिए कॉलेज प्रशासन ये कह रहा है कि ये जो स्टूडेंट ये कॉलेज की रेगुलर स्टूडेंट ही नहीं थी, जबकि पेरेंट्स कह रहे हैं कि तो स्टूडेंट कॉलेज जाया करती थी और उसकी इससे भी इतर उनकी ओर से ये जो आरोप लगाया गया है कि फर्स्ट ईयर में ये फेल हो गई थी और फेल होने के बाद जो है दबाव बना रही थी एक तरह से अपने ही उनको जो है सेकंड ईयर में लिया जाए, लेकिन चूंकि यूनिवर्सिटी लॉ के तहत किसी को भी सेकंड ईयर में नहीं लिया जा सकता है और उसके बाद ना तो उन्होंने फर्स्ट ईयर में एडमिशन किया और ना ही सेकंड ईयर में एडमिशन उनकी हो पाई। तो वो फिर किस लिहाज से कॉलेज में आती जाती भी होंगी तो वो किस लिहाज से आती रही होंगी, क्योंकि कॉलेज में तो पूरा कहा तो पल्ला झाड़ लिया और वो पूरी कहा खड़े हो गए अपने जिनके ऊपर आरोप लगे, जिन प्रोफेसर के ऊपर आरोप लगे।
विचित्र जी हमारे साथ बने रही है, बहुत सारे रिएक्शंस में आए हैं। रिमेंबर द लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन जयराम ठाकुर हैज इन फैक्ट बीन alleging police negligence as well, which is why the opposition now, which is the BJP, is asking for an impartial high level probe. Let's listen in to the reactions that have come in.
बहुत ही दुखद है ये, और आज मैं आपको कह दूं कि हमें छुट्टियां चल रही हैं और आप मेरे आसपास देख रहे हो पूरा कॉलेज स्टाफ यहाँ पर आया हुआ है सिर्फ सर के लिए, क्योंकि अशोक सर बहुत ही थॉरो जेंटलमैन हैं और उनका इतना अनुभव है अध्यापन का, उन्होंने बहुत ही सहजता से वो काम करते हैं। बच्चों से आप पूछें, स्टाफ से पूछें, किसी को भी कोई हम महिलाएँ जितनी हैं, कभी भी सर ने मुझे लगता है ऊँची आवाज़ में तो किसी को कुछ कहा ही नहीं होगा। और उनके लिए ऐसा सुनना, आप सोचोगे कि छुट्टियों में सारा स्टाफ कॉलेज आया है, तो ये दर्शाता है कि सर बिल्कुल 100% जो हैं दोषी नहीं हैं, उन पे गलत आरोप लगाए जा रहे हैं।
छात्रा जो दुखद जिसका निधन हुआ है, वो छात्रा पिछले साल यहाँ के स्टूडेंट थी, इस वर्ष वो स्टूडेंट भी नहीं थी, तो ना तो पेरेंट्स की तरफ से ना उस छात्रा की तरफ से ऐसा कोई मुद्दा जो है वो कॉलेज प्रशासन के ध्यान में लाया गया। हो सकता है कि वो बच्ची जो अनुत्तीर्ण हो गई थी, वो कुछ इश्यूज़ में कुछ मेडिकल इशू या कोई ऐसा इशू अगर कोई रहा होगा, उसके कारण वो शायद अपना जो एक मानसिक पॉइस होता है उसमें उसको कुछ रोक आई होगी, तो उसके कारण वो पेरेंट्स भी शायद वरीड होंगे और उस वरीनेस में वो जो हैं वो कुछ ऐसे आरोप लगे हैं।
All right, let's quickly go back to Vichitra Sharma, who continues to stay live with us on the broadcast. विचित्र, दो सवाल उठ रहे हैं यहाँ पे। अगर आप कॉलेज स्टाफ को देखें तो उन्होंने सबसे पहला तो ये बात उठाई है कि कॉलेज के प्रशासन को ऐसा कोई रैगिंग का इंसिडेंट रिपोर्ट नहीं किया गया। दूसरी बात, वो रेगुलर स्टूडेंट नहीं थी, जो आप भी अभी हमसे शेयर कर रहे थे। और सबसे शॉकिंग बात यह है कि प्रोफेसर अशोक कुमार, जिनके खिलाफ बड़े सीरियस चार्जेस लगा रही हैं छात्रा की फैमिली, उनके लिए पूरा स्टाफ खड़ा है आज।
नहीं, निश्चित तौर पर देखिए स्टाफ पूरी तरह से कह रहे हैं, प्रिंसिपल कॉलेज के कह रहे हैं कि पिछले 2006 से ये जो प्रोफेसर हैं अशोक कुमार, जिनके ऊपर आरोप लगे हैं, एक तरह से सेक्सुअल असॉल्ट ही कहा जाए तो कोई अतिशयोक्ति नहीं होगी, कि उनको यौन उत्पीड़न के जो आरोप लगे हैं कि अश्लील हरकतें वो किया करते थे, तो उन कॉलेज प्रशासन की ओर से सीधे सीधे ये कहा जा रहा है कि उन्होंने कभी ऊंची आवाज में किसी के साथ बातचीत तक नहीं की है, बच्चों को डांटना तो दूर की बात, और इस तरह से बातें करना और जाति सूचक शब्दों की भी बात, जिस तरह पेरेंट्स कह रहे हैं कि कॉलेज में जाति सूचक शब्दों का भी इस्तेमाल किया जाता था, बेटी को एक तरह से टॉर्चर किया जाता था, तो ये तमाम सारी बातें जो हैं वो सिरे से खारिज की जा रही है कॉलेज प्रशासन की ओर से। और ये जांच का विषय है आकांक्षा, ये देखना बड़ा लाजमी है सही मायनों में कि बेटी जब कॉलेज में एडमिट थी ही नहीं, यानी कि इसकी एडमिशन इस साल ना तो फर्स्ट ईयर में है ना वो सेकंड ईयर में है, तो ये वाकई असल में है क्या? तो इसलिए इसकी ग्राउंड जीरो पर जो है वो इन्वेस्टिगेशन होना बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि अब मामला और भी पेचीदा होता जा रहा है। जबकि कॉलेज, जबकि उसके पेरेंट्स कह रहे हैं, बेटी के पेरेंट्स लगातार ये कह रहे हैं कि वो कॉलेज जाती थी, कॉलेज की स्टूडेंट थी और कॉलेज में ही उसके साथ ये सारी चीजें हुई हैं। दूसरी तरफ कॉलेज के का प्रशासन ये भी कह रहा है, बकाया जो जितने प्रोफेसर हैं वो भी ये कह रहे हैं कि यहाँ पर तो एंटी रैंकिंग कमेटी यहाँ पर बनी हुई है, क्योंकि हिमाचल प्रदेश एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस एंटी रैंकिंग एक्ट 2009 के तहत जो है हर एक को जो है जीरो टॉलरेंस है यहाँ पर रैंकिंग के खिलाफ। इन स्पाइट ऑफ दैट, जिस तरह की ये घटना यहाँ धर्मशाला में हुई है और उसमें भी उनको मालूम नहीं था, उनको किसी की ओर से शिकायत नहीं आई थी, ना तो बेटी की ओर से शिकायत दी गई, ना उनके पेरेंट्स की ओर से शिकायत दी गई। तो ये एक तरफा मामला आखिर क्यों रहा, क्यों उनको विश्वास में नहीं लिया गया? तो कहीं ना कहीं कॉलेज प्रशासन की ओर से भी ये जो सवाल खड़े हो रहे हैं, इसकी जांच होना बहुत ही और बड़ी स्वतंत्र जांच होना बड़ी जरूरी है। तो ये सवाल निश्चित तौर पर यहाँ उठ रहा है। आकांक्षा
जी, जैसे कि आपने कहा, ये मामला बिल्कुल पेचीदा होता जा रहा है। इट विल इंडीड रिक्वायर एन इम्पार्शियल प्रोब। मेनी थैंक्स टू यू, Vichitra, for bringing us all those latest inputs. With that, we're slipping into another quick break. Stay tuned to CNN News 18.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
External Affairs Minister S. Shankar, while speaking at an event in IIT Madras, spoke about his recent visit to Bangladesh and India's approach to regional relations. He was speaking about both our fronts, both Eastern and Western. He said, I was in Bangladesh just a few days ago to represent India for the funeral of former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia. On India's relations with its neighbours, Jaishankar added that our approach is guided by common sense. With good neighbours, India invests, helps and shares. He shared and highlighted the ties that we have with countries like Sri Lanka. But addressing the issue of terrorism, he said when it comes to bad neighbours who persist with terror, India has every right to defend itself for whatever is necessary. He also went on to defend putting the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, going on to say that a country cannot request us to share our waters while they continue to spread terror in our country.
But you can also have bad neighbors. Unfortunately, we do. Now, when you have bad neighbors, and if you look to the one to the west, if a country decides that they will deliberately, persistently, unrepentantly continue with terrorism, we have a right to defend our people against terrorism. We will exercise that right. Many years ago, we agreed to a water arrangement, water sharing arrangement, because the belief, the underpinning of that was, it was a gesture of goodwill, because for good neighborliness we were doing it. But if you had decades of terrorism, there is no good neighborliness. If there is no good neighborliness, you don't get the benefits of that good neighborliness. You can't say, I will, please share water with me, but I will continue terrorism with you.
Siddhant, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more perspective on this. Siddhant, the External Affairs Minister there outlining what India's strategy has been. If our neighbours are good to us, then we invest in them like we have done with Sri Lanka. And if it is a country like Pakistan that ensures of pushing terrorism into our country every now and then decisions like putting the IWT in abeyance will continue.
Well, that's right, Poonam. In fact, EMS Jaishankar was speaking at IIT Madras, and this question was asked to him about India's neighbourhood first policy. Now, Poonam, this was the first policy which was introduced after Prime Minister Modi coming to power in 2014, that India's special focus under Prime Minister Modi would be on strengthening ties with the neighbouring countries. And that has been the policy of India from last 1 decade. But now, this is also not for the first time, but this is for the first time that EMS Jaishankar has spoken at a length explaining about India's ties with the good neighbors and India's ties with bad neighbors. Now, when it comes to good neighbors, India contributes, India invests, India shares. He in fact cited many examples where during Ukraine crisis, India helped the neighboring countries with supplies, wheat, etc. Vaccine Maitri initiative, India sent vaccines to these countries during the COVID times. India invests in developmental projects, connectivity projects, electrification grid, etc., etc. So he highlighted the contribution of India as far as good neighbors are concerned. But when it comes to bad neighbor, Poonam, which is Pakistan, he made India's position very clear that India has all the right to defend its people, its territory. And this is also for the first time that
Over to Iran, a wave of intense civil unrest has gripped Iran, marking the most significant challenge to the Islamic Republic since 2022. What began on December 28, 2025 as a protest by Tehran Bazaar merchants over a collapsing currency has now exploded into a nationwide uprising fueled by hyperinflation and political fury. As the protests entered their fifth day, the situation has turned lethal. Security forces have reportedly used live ammunition against demonstrators, leading to at least 7 confirmed deaths. Amid the turmoil, US President Donald Trump has issued a strong warning saying that if Iran kills peaceful protesters, US will come to their rescue. Trump, in a post on Truth Social, said, and let me quote, "We are locked and loaded and ready to go." What will this mean for the overall polity of Middle East? Let's try and get in perspective. And for that, I'm joined in by Catherine Perez Shakhtam, who's a former Mossad spy. She infiltrated the Iranian regime and is now an expert on Middle East politics. Thank you so much, Catherine, for joining in. As an Israeli Mossad spy who infiltrated Iran, orchestrated one of the most devastating blows to the Khomeini regime, one that we witnessed last year. How did you operate and what helped you to evade suspicion?
Okay, so first of all, those are allegations that have been, talked about and discussed and dissected. I can't get into details. What I would say is that, look, the regime invited me in. So the best way I could describe it is when you want to catch a fish, you set a net and you wait for the fish to come. So that's exactly what happened. I created an environment and a setup that I knew would allow for them to come and want to speak to me. Now, they did because I got lucky, I think. In all honesty, I'm not that special. What I did is that I made sure to create a need in that they needed to have an opening into Yemen. I happen to know the family of the former president at the time, as well as some of the Houthis. And so for the regime, it was very interesting because they were trying back then. It was, prior to 2017. It was on the back of the Arab Spring. They were trying to get a footing into Yemen and to try to understand the psychology of the Houthis. Now, the Houthis are Arabs that are very different from Hezbollah and Hamas and all the rest of them in the rest of the Middle East, with a very different mentality. And so they needed someone to translate for them how to best create a relationship and consolidate their position. Now, I didn't help do that, but what I did do is made sure that they would need me so that I would get further up into the whole network that they had and to try to understand their reach. So that's how I operated. Now, in terms of not arousing suspicion, being French helped tremendously. My government, or at least the French government, made sure that Khomeini was able to come back and take over from the late Shah. So I think that they saw in France a friend, an ally, and they didn't feel that I posed a threat. I'm also a woman. They're not exactly huge fans of women, and they tend to think that women are best served in the kitchen. And so when they saw me, they saw that, it's here's a woman, she's a Westerner, she fell for our lies. She's going to be very easy to manipulate. And so I let them believe that they could. And as it turned out, it was the other way around.
Well, that's like a plot out of a spy thriller of sorts. But Catherine, the ongoing protests in Iran are the biggest that the country has seen since 2022, when the death of Mahsa Amini took place in police custody. The problem is that the Islamic regime has treated all dissent as a threat to its survival, not as a challenge that demands a political and policy response. Do you think the government will course correct this time around or resort to yet another pan-Iran crackdown?
So, first of all, let me tell you about the regime. The regime doesn't correct anything. The regime is exactly what you see. It's a murderous regime. It's Islamofascism. They're not interested in talking, reforming, or doing anything. Those are the lies that unfortunately the West has fallen for. Those people, and I mean this, are not to be trifled with in the sense that you can't make a deal with them. You can't try to contain them. People tend to believe that the regime is contained within the borders of Iran. It is not. It's geared towards export. And this is something that we need to understand. They will eventually, and they have done so through their proxies, try to gangrene the rest of the world and grab hold of our societies. And they do this by finding a breach into society and get in. And it's like a cancer. They pervert people, they hold people, they blackmail people. It's a whole setup that is extremely dangerous. So what you see in the streets right now, the fact that they're killing people, imprisoning people, torturing people, all manners of disgusting crimes against humanity, if you ask me, to believe that they will at some point stop or even contemplate dialogue is a fallacy. They're lying to you and people are falling for it because it is a lot easier to believe a lie that would require you to sit on your hands and do nothing than to actually face the truth, which is we have to fight. We have to fight them and we have to win. So that means that you're going to have to exert enormous efforts in order to cut the tree down because we have allowed for that tree to develop roots that go very, very far indeed.
Catherine, the US president has threatened Iran that if they shoot and kill peaceful protesters, US will come to their rescue. Is a US and Israeli intervention imminent? And is a full-blown military conflict with Iran the solution to lasting peace in the Middle East?
Look, I don't know. Look, I think that Israel has done a great deal. If you recall the 12 Days War, I think that was a military feat. I don't think that any country ever in history has managed to do what Israel has done. I think that Israel has done enough in terms of fighting for the rest of the world. And, you know, there's something that I find quite hypocritical. And I'm not talking about you at all. I'm talking about the rest of the world, where the world continues to accuse Israel of everything, including global warming. At the same time, the rest of the world, and by that I mean Western liberal democracies, hide behind Israel, hoping and wishing for Israel to do the dirty job and for them to take the credit and to go back to issuing statements of condemnation against Israel. So there's a point in time where people will have to make a choice. Are you with us or against us? So far, I feel like they are very much against Israel. If they were indeed for the defense of democracy, they should back Israel with everything they have. I'm still waiting. Now, in terms of what America will do, I don't know Donald Trump. What I do know about him is that usually he does what he says. And so I have every faith that he will do something. Now, he should do it now because they have already shot people dead. They are kidnapping young girls from university and throwing them in Evin prison. I don't need to tell you what happens there. This regime will not stop. Iranians have made very clear that they don't want to stop either. They want to see the return of the Shah. They want to have a country that resembles them. And they want to be free again. They want to be able to breathe like you and I and decide what they want to do with their lives. Right now, the regime is preventing that. So I think that if America is genuine about building democracies and helping people fight Islamofascism, and getting rid of the Muslim Brotherhood, getting rid of the RSGC, they need to go and do it now. If Israel wants to help, Israel will have all the credits because I think Israel has been wonderful so far and will continue to be. But Israel cannot and should not do it alone. I think it needs to be a regional effort. I think that our friends in the Middle East need to wake up and understand that their crowns could fall too. And Qatar needs to be called out because Qatar is funding all those lovely people that we call terrorists. And so Qatar, we need to answer to what it is that it's doing. And, you know, India is also facing a great threat because you have the Deobandi movement. All those people have been funded and created by the regime in Tehran. So if Donald Trump is serious about making friends and helping India and helping the rest of the world, making sure that we have energy security, making sure that the tech industry continues to boom and we have all a wonderful future, let's put Israel back in the map, please. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for calling a spade a spade. Catherine Perez Shakhtam, it was a pleasure having you here on Nation F5. And that's all I have for you in this broadcast. Thank you so much for watching. Up next is Plain Speak with Shivani Gupta.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Mumbai gears up for the BMC elections this January, and it will be the first big election of this new year. These elections are also the first the wealthiest Asian municipality is witnessing in 8 long years, and the first two since the big BJP-Sena combine broke up and at least 2 regional Maharashtra parties split up. But what's making these elections even more interesting, along with all other local civic elections in the state, is the redrawing of the political alliances. In the 2017 BMC elections, the BJP significantly expanded its footprint, winning 82 seats, just 2 fewer than the then undivided Shiv Sena. So will it this time be an outright leader along with the smaller Shinde Sena, or can the reunited Thackeray brothers give it a run for its money? With the last BMC election recording a turnout of just 55%, mobilization matters as much as persuasion. And last-minute alliance talks are still very much on. So who will be the king of Mumbai? And more importantly, will it actually solve Mumbai's unending civic issues? We'll take that to our